In this video, I will talk about which is the right needle or hook for the job. There are so many different sizes of knitting needles and crochet hooks out there. If you're new to either of these crafts, it can be a little overwhelming. I've made a few swatches on a selection of different sizes, so you can see what effect changing the needle or hook size can have. These three swatches are all done using a different size needle. This one was done on a 15mm needle. This one was on a 10mm needle. And then this one was on a 25mm needle. They're all knitted in the same yarn, so you can see what effect the changing needle size has. For this swatch, the stitches are smaller and it's pretty dense. Probably a bit too dense if you're making a garment. The fabric doesn't have much give and it's pretty rigid. This swatch, done on 15mm needles, is probably our most common needle size when we're working with Crazy Sexy wool. It has a nice drape, and if you're making garments, it would still be easy to move in this kind of fabric. Because our Crazy Sexy wool is so chunky, you can get away with using really large needles. So this was done on a 25mm needle. You can see that the fabric's really open and it has a lot of drape. These two swatches were knitted up on our lighter weight yarn, Shiny Happy Cotton. The thinner the yarn, the thinner the needles you usually need to use. So this swatch was knitted up using a 5mm knitting needle, and it produces a nice, close fabric, which is great for slightly warmer garments, though the cotton still makes it quite a breathable, light fabric. You can see on this swatch that the fabric is far more open and the stitches are larger than on the 5mm fabric. This was knitted up on an 8mm knitting needle. This fabric will be far better suited to more summery garments or more lacy stitch patterns. In the same way that knitting needle size affects a knitted fabric, hook size affects a crochet fabric. This swatch was crocheted using a 10mm crochet hook. And you can see it's pretty dense, pretty solid, and really strong, so good for bags and accessories, which need to have a lot of structure. This swatch was crocheted using a 15mm hook. And actually, the same number of stitches and rows were worked, so you can see the difference that the hook size makes. This fabric is a bit more open and holey, and has a bit more of a loose structure. So you can see that changing your needle or hook size gives you lots of different options, and while your pattern might recommend a certain size, there's nothing to stop you playing around and experimenting a bit first. So that's a little bit of an introduction into how knitting needle size and crochet hook size can affect your fabric.